Hi Taurus, and welcome to your September 2018 General Tarot Forecast. This is Sky here to give you guys hopefully another amazing reading for your month ahead, and a very powerful month for you guys for sure. I'm really happy to be here. It is my second year. I started in September of 2016 doing these readings in this format. And thank you so much to all the Taurus who have been here. You guys have supported me probably more than any other sign. You and Scorpio for sure. So I'm just very grateful for it. And I'm hoping to continue on. I might change up the format a little bit. I might get on screen more. I might try to introduce a new series. We'll see. But again, just thank you. And without further ado, I'm going to get into your reading for the month of September, which to me for Taurus feels like a reestablishment of who you are and what you're doing. You've been transforming for the last 6 months quite powerfully. Since Jupiter's been in Scorpio, Taurus, you've really changed a lot. You've really compounded parts of your personality and focused less on other parts of your personality. And now you have who you are, and you're kind of like, well, is this who I am? Who am I now? What have I become? I'm different. There's definitely a change which has taken place in Taurus, no doubt, over these last few months, and September feels like the time where you put that to the test, and you see whether or not this is what you signed up for or what you wanted in the first place. And I really sense Taurus to be signing up for a lot in September. So what do you need to sign off on? What do you need to sign up for? There's a sense of generating the next path here and a sense of choices. Choices, yeah, that's really strong. I'm getting chills for you all. Like, you might sort of be coming out of August thinking, okay, this is a time of winding down. I've got to kind of, easily revise and focus on what I actually want. Not that this month will be uneasy for you, but choices are made whether or not you're trying to make them or not. So bear that in mind. Like, it does feel like you have a lot of conscious control over what happens. And I do sense there needs to be caution there. There needs to be conscious caution. There we go, Taurus, if I could speak. That's kind of a bit of a tongue twister there. There has to be conscious caution in this month of September for you, where you're not sort of just taking things easy in the back of your head, but you're really thinking very clearly and in the front of your brain about what choices you're making and what those entail for you. And don't get worried about it. Don't get all like, quivering about the choices that are coming up, but you have a lot of paths. I'm sensing about 8 paths for most Taurus that can emerge in September based on quite small decisions that are made. So I would want you guys to consciously think about that. And as you're making decisions, thinking about, is this who I am? Because that's what you've really been focused on. It's been, for most Taurus, not all Taurus, it's been less about choices on the exterior world lately. It's been less about what you're doing with your time, as I feel most Taurus have been able to thrive in most of all pursuits, or at least have some sort of contentment, whether you're back at school, whether you're at the job, whether you're living with the friends or doing whatever it is. There's a sense of Taurus just sort of, existing and being there and being wholesome for that. That doesn't seem to change right now, but there becomes a sense of volatility, not quite volatility. What is that? That's trying to channel through quite strongly right now. Because what I feel is for the recent maybe year for Taurus is there's been wholesomeness in each environment, in each stage that you have existed in. And now that starts to get a bit more particular. So if you've sort of, maybe you found out about a year and a half ago that, okay, this job isn't right for me, this relationship isn't right for me, and you just sort of started playing things by ear, like, yes, I'm optimistic now and I'm spontaneous and I just do what feels right to me and I do all of these things, which was really important for you then, especially when Saturn was in Sagittarius. It was important for Taurus to give themselves a break, to get a bit spontaneous, and to follow through on their very quick innate desires. But now the conditions have changed a little bit, Taurus, and this has been a thing for all the fixed signs, and I think this is emerging on behalf of the sort of mini fixed cross that we had over August. All the fixed signs got really disjointed over like 2015 and 16, and 2017 sort of became a healing ground and a okay, I'm just going to do what I need to do to survive and not really thinking too much about the long-term future. I've just got to survive here and now. And that needed to happen then. But that doesn't feel like it's gone away, yet the conditions that evoked that have. So let's think about a lot of situations in your own life where the conditions that evoke a certain response have passed or left, yet you continue the habitual actions that were present during a stimulus which no longer exists. So yeah, this is about okay, well, it was fun to do whatever I needed to do on sort of the drop of a hat, or to make very large changing life situations appear because I needed them. But now with Saturn in Capricorn, Jupiter in Scorpio, Uranus in Taurus, there's a need to solidify into a nice strategy. And that's what it really comes down to this month, Taurus, is a nice strategy, because you will confront certain situations which try you a bit. So you have to have an end game, and you have to have a strategy, and you also have to have a softness. This is what we love about you, Taurus. We love your softness, we love your forgiveness, and we love your ability to, even if you know that someone can't be in your life, or you know that you've got to make a different decision, there's a maturity in that, and there's a sense of love and nurture to things even as you leave them behind. That is very important now. And the issue with what happened to you in 2017, I feel, is that may have become something that you considered a weakness, and you might feel like you have to be very blunt and very almost like scaring people off. I sense a lot of you may be in like relationships where like, okay, I don't want to be in this. Rather than breaking up, I'm going to scare the other person off and make them break up with me. Or someone reaches out to you, Taurus, and you don't want to deal with them. And like, rather than sort of, lovingly not responding or lovingly putting something together that is, more in your nature, you kind of try to scare them off by this like really overzealous type of difficult situation for everybody, as you have gained a bit of a temper, it feels like, because Uranus is in Taurus, and sometimes people don't realize like how much of a rage like cows and bulls can get, and they like really charge something, and they're kind of like an impossible force to stop. I do sense there to be a bit of a brick wall this month, though, so I wouldn't recommend charging unless there's something behind you which you really have to like snap into shape. Try to not run too many things over this month. You could even sort of see a situation where you did this before, come back into the light, and need a bit of pruning or a bit of explanation about what happened. So, Taurus, just my biggest recommendation for you in the month of September is to remember that this is what generates the path. Bitter, sharp-ended choices may generate bitter, sharp paths. Loving, nice gestures may generate a path with loving, nice gestures. So just remember that like attracts like this month, and you will be called to really say, okay, this is who I am. This is what I encompass. I may not have been acting in this way before, but I'm acting this way now. And for those of you who've already seen this and who have already kind of, caught on to this, you're getting so many rewards this month. I really feel like you're almost being I'm not going to say served by the universe, but there's a sense of the universe really reaching out and really giving you something that you've needed for a long time. And you'll then kind of have to work with that in the same way that all other Taurus are. But it seems to really generate a lot of paths that lead to a place that you've wanted for a long time. So anyway, Taurus, I'm going to go ahead and get into the week to week and speak more on the specific energies. So week number 1, you have Wheel of Fortune reversed, rooted down by Page of Pentacles. So not relying too much on luck. I think we talked a little bit about this last month as well. And that's sort of where I'm getting this impression that, just kind of like riding by the seat of your pants, or, being really spontaneous about things is not quite as nice as it used to be for you. And even if it goes very successfully, even if you still find yourself thriving in the situations you jump into, there's a sense of, whoa, I've not planned this. This was not part of the plan. I've got to think differently. I don't feel that Taurus deep down really likes spontaneity right now, or really feels fulfilled by things just suddenly cropping up in the same way that they used to. And I think that for some of you might have a lot to do with money, or it might have a lot to do with resources in general, because you might start to see that, okay, I have big plans. I have these incredible talents. I have all of this work that I've done, but it's not accumulating much because my energy is so unstill right now and is not very apt to building something. So definitely look at how you can put down roots right now. Really beautiful for Taurus, because it's not even that it has to happen right this second, but by about March of 2019, Taurus, once Uranus gets to heading back into your sign for good, because it's retrograde right now and it's going to go back into Aries, and I think that's sort of why you're feeling this start to reemerge, this major like spontaneous cardinal fire energy. You want to sort of find a path or a plan right now to where you can truly put down some great roots by around March 2019 at the latest. And whatever that means for you is great. And whatever roots mean to you, it doesn't necessarily meaning a house, or it doesn't mean having a family or a house or anything in particular, but it means feeling stable and somewhat predictable. And then introducing spontaneity into that structure is great, but it's about having the structure and the template present, which I feel that Taurus may have lacked for a while. And you'll see something in the first week of September that is a beginning of that path and the beginning of an opportunity to build that template. In the second week, you have Page of Cups rooted down by Six of Pentacles. So you are re-examining emotional hurt and emotional pain. And I would even say emotional debt during the second week of September. And maybe this has been on your mind for a while now with Jupiter and Scorpio. And I would urge all Taurus to think about the concept of emotional debt. So, what in your relationships, in your family, in your job, what are the feelings or the expressions or the lies or secrets that have needed to come out but have not had that opportunity? That sort of becomes an emotional debt. Like, okay, I really need to tell this person how I feel, or I really need to tell this person the truth, or I really need this person to tell me the truth. When there's sort of a direct conflict related to that and it ends up not being spoken, when there's a desire for it to be spoken, it almost becomes a debt and it accrues interest. So I do feel like Taurus is maybe experiencing some of that. You might see, I don't want to say an explosion. It doesn't feel very like very explosive energy, so maybe not huge arguments, but you're going to see the meat and potatoes of that issue. So like what is the emotional debt consisting of? What has caused this to go unseen? And it's not always conscious either. Like, it's not always a matter of, okay, I'm just not going to tell that truth, or okay, I'm just not going to talk about how I feel or ask others to tell me how they feel. Sometimes it's not even seen, but it's felt once it accrues to what it is now. So definitely examine like yourself, like what have I needed to tell people? What truths have I needed to tell myself? What have I become? Am I becoming? Because that's what it starts to affect when you can't really see the truth or the reality of certain situations. And I'm sort of getting that you have that Seven of Cups in your reading as well. So there's a sense of, we'll get there when we get there, but there's a sense of, having lost track of what things we're actually doing, or having not become delusioned or disillusioned or delusional. It's more of a slow process of losing the momentum that was there. Anyway, we'll get there. But in the third week, Taurus, you have Page of Swords rooted down by King of Swords. I really like that energy. I do feel like the third week is probably a really good week for a lot of you because there's an evolution there. So your mind, to me, feels to be getting stronger. It feels like you are evolving, leveling up in the third week of September. You might sort of have that click, like that light bulb moment, like some formula in your head, like, okay, I was there and then that person did that, and that's why this is the way it is now. There's a sense of formula finally being understood, like variables finally being substituted for the actual, number or experience or impression. So think about that in the third week. What plus what, or what minus what, has led me to be where I am now? And through understanding that, you can work more with the path that you want in the future. And moving into the fourth week, you have Ten of Pentacles rooted down by Seven of Cups. Very strong Taurus, very faded energy, I feel there. Maybe faded and fated, but I said fated at first. So Ten of Pentacles is very much a Taurus energy. That's sort of the end game for a lot of Taurus, finding that security, finding those roots, finding that benevolence. But that's rooted down by Seven of Cups. So this is a time where you need to think about, okay, what is my end game and why is it so? Sometimes Seven of Cups to me resembles like seeing Ten of Pentacles on the horizon. Like Ten of Pentacles is sort of living in the situation that Seven of Cups represents. So if you look at Seven of Cups, you see like the castle, you see the jewels, you see the crown, you see the dragon, you see the snake, you see the face, which represents like a beautiful face in my opinion. You see sort of all of the things that represent power and represent security and upper class or even like royalty type of situations, but it's not there yet. It's on a cloud and it's on the horizon, and the person who's looking at it is completely barren of light. So there's a sense of, not necessarily coming from you, Taurus, but there's a sense of jealousy of the Ten of Pentacles situation, or a sense of sacrificing yourself in order to achieve it. That's not going to be for all of you. For some of you, that's going to be a path that someone that you love is on. For some of you, it's going to be something that you see from your past. I do feel like all Taurus are dealing with this archetype, but it can be different for different people, like how that's coming up. So it doesn't mean that you've lost sight of yourself, or you've sort of become too entangled in like illusions of grandeur, which to me the Seven of Cups is all about illusions of grandeur. And it's a cups card, so it's not about the tangible, it's not about real things, it's about the emotions and about the deeper complexes. So this is sort of about striving for something that distracts you from who you are. Like, okay, if I can get on this path with a lot of ambition and a lot of desire to get really high in life, that's going to distract me from the pain that I'm feeling, and I'm not going to have to deal with that then. Once I'm powerful like that, I won't have to deal with that then. And then you sort of just get into that cycle where it's easy to forget, I think, that people's light comes from the reverberations. So light is generated by vibrations and reverberations, and vice versa. You know, it's kind of like a chicken or the egg thing. We're not really sure which one causes which, but reverberations to me energetically feel like traumas and feel like uncomfortable, and they in hand sort of produce light, or are connected with light and the system of light. So I just think about that with Seven of Cups, because the figure is completely dark, completely in shadow. So there's not really much reverberation happening. There's not really a lot of vibration happening in the body, which is really connected with illnesses and death. You know, like, as a lot of you know, like people with cancer or very terminal illnesses vibrate really low. And to me, this makes me think of Seven of Cups, and how sometimes when we get an illusion of grandeur going on, or a very ambitious cycle, we can sometimes really throw out our vibration in the, for some people, it's the generating of that. Like, they use all their vibration to start to generate that type of reality subconsciously. And for other people, it's the, what do I want to say? It's the, like, you know, if you're in like a city and there are like a lot of skyscrapers, and you sort of like look up and there's a sense of vertigo, there's a sense of like agoraphobia with when you look up to the top of the building. There's a sense of that in the Seven of Cups as well, that I feel that Taurus is going through. Like, you see what you could be, you see what changes might happen, and you're sort of looking up, and there's a sense of agoraphobia to that. So this is kind of, I don't want to say it's all over the place, but we've got sort of a lot of things that I've just said, and I hope that I've made sense. But to wrap all of that together, the way I feel this is of importance to Taurus is to remind yourself to go within and generate roots, and sort of allow yourself to be small. Allow yourself to not need the really grandiose situation, because there is a sense of fooling oneself into thinking that that heals this. You know, that heals what has led to the need of it. So those of you who are already in those grand situations, who are already in Ten of Pentacles, that's fine. I mean, you've already naturally come there. And it's not to say that you can't climb a mountain and be very successful and get there. But it's important to let it come as it comes, versus really thinking, okay, I've got this incredible brand, I've got this incredible job, this incredible career, and that's going to create this power for me, this like grand situation. Power is not a bad thing, and, you know, like even like upper class ways of living, elite lifestyles are not necessarily a bad thing in and of themselves. And they're not really escapable during this current paradigm, so there's not really any reason to try to drag those people down, to try to drag that way of living. But they come in a natural way, either by birth or by wandering onto them. They don't generally come in a very ambitious way unless you're already connected to them. So this is kind of a lot of rambling, Taurus, but I do feel like you're involved in this. I do feel like you're involved with ascension and sort of ascending a hierarchical system. making more money, making more connections, making more power. And I just want you to realize, like, enjoy what you're doing, enjoy how it's coming in. Don't do things for the sake of being there, because that's the thing. If you're meant, and, this is sort of a destiny-ish type of train of thought, but if you're meant for it, you'll get there. You don't have to, sacrifice yourself and run yourself over to do it. And if you're not, I don't want to say you're not, but it usually becomes a lesson, like when you really want something that's not real, like, what might be represented in Seven of Cups. When you really want those things and really sacrifice yourself for them, you usually don't get them, because that's what the lesson becomes about. It becomes about having to show that you're enough without those things. So allow yourself to wonder upon them, and don't try to generate something at the expense of your own health. You have Five of Pentacles reversed as your central theme, so don't get it twisted. There's a sense of not having enough this month. There's a sense of not being enough, or not having enough emotional energy or emotional resource to tend to others or to be what others need for you, or not enough money to make the move that you've wanted to make. There's enough, Taurus, but there's, for some reason in your mind, there's a sense of not enough, regardless of how much you have. So what do we do in regard to that? I do feel like October will be much more telling of how you react to that, and I will keep that in mind for next month's reading. But as for this month, to me, it's a sign that you have to clear emotional debts, whether it just be with yourself or with other people. And you have to be okay with roots and not need illusions of grandeur right now, and really just be able to be happy with what is around, because that's how you eventually get to what you're actually wanting, is with the joy of what is currently existing. Because that's the other thing, even if you get there, even if you do the ambitious thing and you can enjoy where you currently are, you're not going to enjoy yourself there once you get there, because that's going to become a cycle, that's going to become a habit of not being happy in the present moment. So learn to be happy in the present moment, and you'll find yourself getting exactly what you want. Anyway, Taurus, much love, much luck. This is a hard kind of trickstery energy going in for you this month, but it's not as hard as what you've dealt with over the last few years. It is, again, choice. They're choiceful. I don't know if that's a word, but I'm going to call September a choiceful month with many opportunities to thrive and also sacrifice. But again, the sacrifice feels like your choice if you make it, so it's not going to be forced by other people. Good luck, everyone. If you haven't had the chance yet to subscribe to my channel, I would so appreciate that. Your likes and comments mean the world to me, and you can click the center of your screen to either book a private reading with me or check out my Patreon page. It's both in that link. And check the description box. I'm on different social media, and I'll be talking to you guys in October. Bye.